Holiday World is the name of an incredible amusement park located in Santa Claus, Indiana, and it really does feel like this place is in the middle of nowhere. When you're driving up to the park, you're surrounded by a bunch of cornfields, and then you all of a sudden get an incredible view of Thunderbird and Voyage, two of the park's roller coasters. I went to the park in 2023 during their Halloween weekends, and I had a great time. Because it was later in the season, the water park was not open that day, and so I will not be covering that in this review. But I have visited the water park, and it is amazing. Anyways, let's talk about what to do when you're getting to the park, but not quite in the park. I'd highly recommend buying your admission tickets in advance online, as it will save you about $10 per person, and a lot of waiting whenever you're trying to get into the park. One of the add-ons to the tickets is a photo pass, which allows you to collect your photos all day when you visit Holiday World, rather than having to purchase individual photos every time you want one from the gift shops. So it could save you a bit of money if you are a photo collector. I've never personally collected any photos, but some people do, so it could be a great benefit for them. There are two parking lots at Holiday World. Both of them are free to park in. You don't need to worry about extra costs when visiting Holiday World, except for the food. One of the parking lots is called the Raven Lot, the other is the Legend Lot. The Legend Lot has a much higher parking capacity than the Raven Lot, but the Raven Lot is a lot closer to the front entrance. Because of the massive parking lot, Holiday World actually has trams that they use that you can ride from the end of the parking lot, and it will get you a lot closer to the front entrance, so you won't have to walk as much. If you are in the Legend Lot, you're going to go through a tunnel under the road in order to get to the front entrance. Once you are at the front entrance, you first walk through the metal detectors before entering the park. Park security is very friendly, and they are very efficient with getting people through to the front entrance. The people at the front entrance are also extremely efficient. There are like 12 gates or something, so a large number of people are able to get into the park at once. So this park is very equipped to handle big crowds. They start letting people enter through the gates about 30 minutes before the park opens, but you can't ride any rides until the park has opened. I've never really had to deal with intense crowds at this park, but I know that some people have seen Holiday World when it was like 2-hour lines per ride. So choose when you go wisely. Most days in May and June should be fine, and then very late August, all of September and October should also be decent times to visit to avoid the large crowds and long lines. Weekends are going to be the busiest days to go to the park. I'd highly recommend checking out the park website, as it is filled with tips and tricks that will help you maximize your day at Holiday World. Anyways, once you enter the park, you are greeted with a very clean and charming area that is the Christmas-themed area of the park. This area holds a total of 5 rides, and they are all for children. I've never really spent too much time in this area, but it is extremely pleasing to walk through. The Christmas area also has a lot of places to eat. I definitely recommend getting Holiday World's ice cream, as it is really good. It's definitely some of the best I've ever had. There's also a few gift shops and friendly shows in this area too. During the Halloween weekends, there are a couple of haunted houses. There's nothing too scary about them, but they're just there to add to the fun. Something that I should probably mention is that Holiday World is a very hilly park, so you will have to do a lot of uphill and downhill walking, and just a lot of walking in general. You will be exhausted walking from the front of the park to the back of the park, or vice versa, or even just from like the Voyage to the Legend. Even though they're pretty close to each other, it takes a hike to get to either because the park is so hilly. If you have not picked up already, Holiday World is themed to holidays. We just talked about the Christmas themed area of the park. Now we're going to go into the Halloween section of the park, which is the section that most people seem to head to right after Christmas section. This area houses the first 2 roller coasters we're going to talk about. The Raven is a custom Coasters International wooden roller coaster, and it is incredibly fun with some fun transitions. It's nothing extremely crazy, but it is really fun. Before we get into the other roller coaster in this section, let's speak of a few of the flat rides. They've got Frightful Falls, which is a log flume. I was thinking about riding it in 2023. However, I did not want to get absolutely drenched, and it wasn't the warmest that day, but it does look pretty fun. The other two flat rides are Hollow Screams, a chain swings ride, and then Scarecrow Scrambler, a scrambler-style attraction, which is really fun. The Halloween section also has a few places to eat. Everything in the area is kept up well, and none of the paint is really fading away. So you can tell that Holiday World is keeping their park pretty nice. Something else nice about Holiday World in general is that all soft drinks are free. That means Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper, root beer, even water, etc. It's all free. Also like Gatorade and stuff, it's all free. You can just walk into a drink station and grab a drink, so you don't have to waste any time having to wait in a long food line in order to get an overpriced drink. I am so glad that Holiday World does this, as it allows people to stay hydrated throughout the day. Anyways, let's talk about the Legend, the other roller coaster in the Halloween section. This ride is incredible in both the morning and the evening. I got the first ride of the day on this, and in the middle, I wasn't expecting much because it wasn't warmed up, and I was in the middle, but it was absolutely hauling through the layout. It was incredible. The laterals were bonkers, having you pinned to the side of the train for so long at portions of the ride. I would absolutely highly recommend riding this, especially as one of your first rides of the day. And I'd even try to get the first ride of the day on Legend in order to avoid a line. Alrighty, now we're going to go from talking about the amazing Halloween section to the 4th of July section. I bet you can't guess what this land is themed to. If you guessed 4th of July, you're correct. This land is very patriotic, with American Revolution themed rides. This land offers a wide variety of flat rides. The Lewis and Clark Trail is an antique cars ride. I've never gotten to do it, but it looks pretty fun. There are a minimum of 2 riders per car, so you must have somebody to ride with before being able to go on. Star Spangled Carousel is the park's main carousel, and Rough Riders Bumper Cars is a bumper cars ride. Firecracker is pretty much a tilt-a-whirl attraction. The Revolution is a centrifuge ride where riders stand up. I'd love to do it, but I haven't gotten to do it yet. Eagle's Flight is a flying scooters attraction, and I haven't done it, so I'm not sure if it's a fast one or slow one. My favorite flat ride in this area is by far Liberty Launch, but then again, I think that it's the only flat ride in this area that I've ridden. Actually, I take that back. I've ridden Rough Riders bumper cars as well. The flat rides in this area seem to get long lines pretty quickly, so if you see one of them with a short line, I'd recommend hopping in line quickly. Liberty Launch is a launch drop tower that is incredibly intense. The ride has a single rider line, which gets you almost immediate access to the ride, so you can just bypass the regular queue if you're not riding with anybody else. I took advantage of it and got on the next ride every time. I'd highly recommend doing it. The next land is considered part of the 4th of July section by the Holiday World website, but it's really the main kids area of the park, and it's connected, but it's not really the same land. But it's themed to the mascots of Holiday World, which include Holodog and Kitty Claus, and some of the other mascots. The park's kitty coaster is called the Howler. It's a pretty janky coaster, although it is pretty fun. There is no maximum height, so you can ride by yourself as an adult. I might not necessarily recommend it, as you might get some pretty weird stares, and this ride's restraints are really tight on you, because they're meant for the children. There are a few other flat rides that you'll find in the park. Most of them are a variation of a similar flat ride at either Kings Island or Kentucky Kingdom, so I'm not going to go very in-depth. There is a train ride in this section which circles around Holodog's Funtown, the name of the kids section. It's pretty nice. There's some theming along the sides, and you even go through a short tunnel. It's the only ride you're allowed to film on with a phone, so it's the only POV video that I have on Storming Coasters. They've also got a playground that is great for the younger members of the family, as it can help get their energy out. Holodog's Funtown is pretty nicely kept up. Howler recently got a repaint, and everything else is very colorful. That is another great thing that's nice about Holiday World. It's very colorful, with many vibrant colors painted all around the park. Nothing is very bland, except for maybe the brown wooden coasters. But that's it. We're going to now step out of the 4th of July section and talk about my favorite area of the park, which is the Thanksgiving area. This area, oh my goodness, it has some incredible rides. I'll save the best for last talking about this area. When you enter the Thanksgiving section, you walk under the brake run of the Voyage, and you can see the huge lift hill out in front of you as you walk through this land. To your right, you have Gobbler Getaway, which is a shooting dark ride. I'd recommend trying to hit it earlier in the day, as it can build up an extremely long line. The ride itself is okay, but nothing spectacular, but it's a nice way to get out of a potentially extremely hot day. And it also offers something to do during a thunderstorm that might shut all of the other rides down. Turkey Whirl is a tilt-a-whirl attraction. I haven't not done it yet, but it looks pretty fun. Right behind that is the main restaurant of this area, and it's called the Plymouth Rock Cafe. It has a lot of foods that you might traditionally cook for Thanksgiving. There is a lot of seating, including indoors and outdoors for this restaurant, as it tends to be a pretty popular place to eat. You have the Mayflower to your right, which is a swinging ship attraction. I haven't ridden it in a few years, and I remember it to be very fun, but it is a more toned down version of the ride than some other swinging ships, so it's more accommodating for families with kids. If you continue walking straight, you'll eventually get to Thunderbird, which is Holiday World's B&M Wing Coaster. It is pretty fun, but the restraint can hurt, and there is no avoiding that if you decide to ride it. Right next to Thunderbird is Crow's Nest, which is a tiny little star flyer. I haven't ridden it yet, but it looks pretty fun. It's about 65 feet tall, so not as tall as some other star flyers, but again, this park is more accommodating for families with kids, so that's why. It appeared to have a pretty long cycle though. In the Thanksgiving section, there will be some new additions coming in 2024. First of all, there's going to be this area called the Party Plaza added to Thanksgiving. There's also going to be a new playground for the children to play. And finally, Holiday World will be adding a much-needed family coaster, something that they've been needing for a while. Before this, you used to have a huge gap between the Howler and Raven, so you'd have to go from a kiddie coaster to a thrill coaster, which is a pretty big gap. Now the jump won't have to be so big. It looks like it'll be a pretty fun addition to the park. I hope I get to ride this sometime soon, but I probably won't get to do it for a while. The final thing we're going to talk about with this area is the Voyage. This roller coaster is an absolute beast of a ride. It is incredible. From the moment you crest the lift hill to the moment you hit the final brake run, it is just non-stop. The staff are also amazing, sending the trains out in a ridiculously short amount of time. The Voyage can feel sluggish though at the beginning of the day, but it begins to get much better and faster toward night. Make sure that if you want to get the last ride of the night on any ride of the park, get in line early or wait outside of the entrance for a bit, as Holiday World does close their lines early to where the last ride of the night will be exactly at closing time and no more trains will be sent after that. If you'd like to learn more about any of the 4 major coasters at Holiday World, I'm going to have reviews posted on this channel in the near future. Anyways, that's all of the rides. We've still got a few more things to talk about with Holiday World. I know I've already mentioned this, but they are a very clean park. You won't find any trash lying on the ground around the park, and the bathrooms are also very clean, which is something that you don't generally get at most other amusement parks. The staff of Holiday World are incredibly friendly, and they make you feel like you are a part of the park. The ride operators often hype the train up before and after the ride, especially on Voyage and also Howler. They go above and beyond in making sure that everybody has a great time at the park. And they are also pretty efficient too. They waste no time doing anything and try to get the lines through as quickly as possible. No matter if it's for a ride or a restaurant, all the staff are really efficient. Next, Holiday World also has a podcast, so you can stay up to date on any updates going on with Holiday World. They also discuss what to do to help your visit at the park improve. I'd highly recommend listening to it if you like holidays, amusement parks, or just Holiday World itself. Without it, I would not be able to know that Holiday World has a restaurant that is only gluten-free, and it saved a lot of time we would have spent looking for something for my dad and sister to eat at the park, as they can't have gluten. I'd also recommend exploring the Holiday World website, as again, they have multiple tricks that you can use at the park, so you can have the greatest day possible. Before we end this review, it's time for the question I always ask at the end of every review. Would I recommend visiting Holiday World? Definitely. This is a park that you should not miss out on. With their 3 wooden roller coasters, Thunderbird, and an incredibly nice atmosphere, there's no reason you shouldn't go to Holiday World. I'd even say that this is my favorite park that I've been to, even over other parks such as Cedar Point, Dollywood, and even Busch Gardens Williamsburg. It is incredibly hard to think of anything negative to say about Holiday World. But that's about all I have to say. I could talk about this park all day, but I don't really want to bore you guys. So I'm going to wrap up this review here. I hope you enjoyed it and found it informative, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.